I wanted to put together a show, a vehicle, basically, that would show all of my talents, that I could sing, that I could act, that I could tell jokes. I could be a comedian. You know, I wanted to have all of it displayed right there for everybody to see what I was capable of doing.
And in all of that, you created an important self-advocacy statement for all autistic people, which is very important, you know, and there's a lot in there, particularly wonderful statements at the end. You're speaking for people. Actually, you are. I think you are, definitely. You can make that statement, and that will work in any country, certainly in this country, in my country. It's a hell of a thing.
I never want anybody to feel like there's nothing that they can't do because of being on the spectrum. I want to be the voice that says anything you want to do in life, you can do it.
Guerilla Aspies podcast. Written, recorded, and produced by Paul Wadey.
Hello, welcome to the 13th Guerilla Aspies podcast with myself, Paul Wadey. This occasion I'll be interviewing my friend George Steeves, who is out there in Los Angeles. The COVID-19 epidemic is still raging. We are said to be weeks away from getting our vaccinations. Personally, I've had 4 of them this year. I'm in the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine trials, and I don't know if I've had the COVID vaccine and a booster or a meningitis one, but one thing is for sure, I feel rather good. And of course, I've had my flu jab, and I've also had one for pneumonia, so that's 4 vaccines. And contrary to what the anti-vaccination movement is saying, I'm still alive and well and feel quite happy. I should be dead by now, apparently. Anyway, George and I met 2 years ago at the Edinburgh Fringe in 2018. His show was on at the same time as mine, which is why I wasn't able to see it until a year later when it turned up on Vimeo, and it is brilliant. So now I hand you over to the man himself. George Steeves, good grief. Do you remember how we met, George?
Yes, I do. It was at the 2018 Edinburgh Fringe Festival. Yeah. I was doing Magic 8 Ball at the Gilded Balloon.
Yeah.
And, oh God, what was the name of the theater? It was the Turret Room, or as I jokingly called it, the Tourette Room.
The Turret Room. I think I went up there the year after. I went up there after you'd been there. Was a really tight corridor you had to go up? It's like a medieval thing. Yeah. Yes. Good grief! And it was up that cobbled stairs, the road that goes to the castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a year later I went up there and I saw a brilliant monologue. There's somebody pretending to be a man out of Thin Lizzy. Whose name escapes me, the bass, Phil Lynott, who was also a young gay man, who played, and he had the hair, he had the moustache, he was just a clone, and he was very moving. Another honest individual, and I told him so online, I really can, because I saw the same man in 1980. And George, you know, I've got to ask you, did you conceive of the whole thing, all that material, that was you?
Yes, yeah. I wrote the play, and then my directors, Penny and Crystal Wilson, helped me edit it. Yeah. That way we could get it to a really tight 1-hour show. So I came with a bunch of ideas, and when I brought it to the table to them, they helped me chisel and edit the show, and they helped me pick the songs, and they helped me pick the costumes, and... But yeah, everything I wrote.
Because did you have any input from other autistic people on that show?
No, everything just came straight from my heart, and it came straight from my own personal experiences.
Because what you created was a universal kind of every autistic story. And I relate to that, and I've seen it and heard it in so many other people. And it's like, oh my God, it's like we became friends. And then like months later or a year later, I get this incredible reward I see this film, it's on Vimeo, isn't it? And I'm like,
yeah.
This guy, it's like everything I'd hoped for, it was there. Everything I dreamed of, it was there, but better, because it wasn't what I'd think of. It was all singing and all dancing. It was, you guys in America, when you perform, you have this 10 out of 10 flawless thing. You really step up. Everything that American people do, like everything you do. I spent 3 years selling tickets for really useful theatre. And I got to see all the best shows in the West End of London,
Wow.
Shaftesbury Avenue. Phantom of the Opera, like 3 times. Taboo, 8 times. Les Mis I did about 5 times. Les Miserables. And I'm not kidding, you are totally standard. You are the standard. That's it.
Well, thank
you. The standard. You just do it, You should be working in that field.
I would love to perform in London. I still haven't performed in London.
You will. Once we got we got our vaccines, got this pandemic over, you can come and stay in ours and bloody get on with it. That'll be great.
Yeah.
You just got to publicise it. Definitely, no problem at all, because you're rock solid. You're great. You go from strength to strength as well. You just got to be seen. You got the personality and everything. Anyway, that's enough being nice to you. It's enough of that. Do you remember what I always call you? What is the name I always call you?
Was it Gorgeous George?
Yes!
Okay.
In the 1970s, there was a wrestler on the television in black and white, and he'd come on in a big robe, and it's Gorgeous George. And he was like, I had to call you that. So can you tell us, for the purposes of the podcast, where did you grow up? Where did you start?
Well, East Coast, born and raised. I was born in Connecticut, and then my family moved down to Virginia, and I was in Virginia for 10 years, all throughout my childhood. And then when I was 11, my family moved from Virginia to Pennsylvania in the suburbs of Philadelphia. I grew up in Fort Washington.
Right, because I've visited Philadelphia for a day.
It's a great city.
Yeah. I saw Edgar Allan Poe's house that was there, where he stayed for a few years as well. I visited Fordham as well on another trip. But and of course, he had a Richmond, Virginia accent. That's how he originally spoke.
Because I lived in Virginia for 10 years. We were about an hour and a half away from Richmond.
Wow. Oh. And then you moved all over the place. Now, I've got notes here, you ended up in the Lutheran University.
Yes, I really wanted to get out to Los Angeles as soon as I possibly could, but my parents wanted me to go to college, so I thought the good compromise would be to go to college in Southern California. So I found a small private Lutheran college called California Lutheran University, also known as CLU, and I transferred in as a sophomore in the fall of 2008. Thousand Oaks is about 40 miles outside of Los Angeles. So I was close to where I wanted to be, which was Los Angeles.
You did that all on your own? There was no special needs support? Anything? You just did it?
No, I got admitted to the college, and I packed up my bags, and I drove my car cross country with my father, and then my father flew back.
Brilliant. Just so you did it,
Just went out there not knowing a soul, but I wanted to be a singer and actor since pretty much day one of my life. So I was 19 years old, and I was ready to get started on that.
Brilliant. You went out there when you were 19. There was a song in the 80s about called 19. It was all you guys, like 30, 40 years ago, they were in Vietnam. Those poor people would go out there, There's always been a tremendous pioneer spirit in America, can do. You just get up and get on with it. Just throw yourself
pretty much.
The world,
as we like to say here in America, pick yourself up by the bootstraps. So that's become more of a Republican phrase, though, in my lifetime. So I try not to say Republican phrases because I am not a big fan of the Republican Party at the moment. I'm a Democrat. And so I try not to use that term anymore because that's become like a Republican term.
Well,
but at least we won't have our embarrassing, Cheeto for too much longer.
Right, I was going to say the whole phase of the clown president, the president no one will believe was a real president, is finally come to an end. Because I never thought he was a real presidency.
However, he will go to his grave insisting that he won and the election was rigged. He will go to his grave saying that.
Brilliant, yes. He wants to have away from being a flat earther, isn't he? He's just marvellous. My friend and I, my best friend from school, from when we were 10, walked past Trump Tower. That's a claim to fame. A couple of years ago now. And then we saw a well-dressed fella come up to it, stick his finger up, and he walked right past Trump Tower, and he kept his finger right up in the air, non-stop. And he only dropped his arm and he cleared Trump Tower. And he just did that all the way along. You know.
I'm sure many of us will be doing that for as long as those towers are in the United States.
Terrible. How are things going right now? Before we go back, I know, sorry, should we be in the past or be in the present? Let's go back to the past.
It's all good. I can talk about anything.
I am intrigued about this cult that this acting teacher was in. What was this cult you can't mention?
Okay, I try not to mention it because it's a very popular cult in my industry, and it's called Scientology.
Oh. You didn't have the Thetans, did you?
I did the show in Hollywood, and you never know who's a Scientologist, and I didn't want to offend anybody and potentially lose out on an acting job or an agent or a manager. So the only time I ever said the name Scientology was when I did the shows in Virginia. Because I felt like... Yeah, I felt like Virginia, I was safe. There's not a Scientology building, I don't think, in the state of Virginia. So I think I was fine there.
We've got one in London, and my mate and I went in for a personality test once.
My acting teacher was a Scientologist, and she ran her acting class like it was her own personal Church of Scientology. Well, I was never a Scientologist myself, but my acting teacher used all the same Scientology jargon that they use.
Bloody hell. Were you going clear in your acting?
Yeah, so I learned about all the terms like crime and PTS, which means potential trouble source. SP, suppressive person. I learned about these phrases because of my teacher. So it was kind of sad that I could read Leah Remini's book and I understood all the terms because my teacher used them.
Suppressive person. I want to own a T-shirt with that on it. Definitely.
Oh, yeah. When you leave my acting class, it's just like leaving the Church of Scientology. Everybody from the class stopped talking to me, and my acting teacher deleted me from her Facebook, never talked to me ever again. It's like getting excommunicated from a church when you leave Scientology or when you leave my acting teacher's class. They never talk to you ever again. It's like you never existed.
George, you didn't need that. After the life you've had, bloody hell, that choir was bad enough.
After 5 years, I had enough of it. I couldn't take the Scientology crap anymore. And you know what? Looking back on it now, it was probably one of the best decisions I ever made in my life was to leave that class. Yeah.
Well, good for you. And that's who you are, by the way. You're somebody who stands on his own 2 feet. I know that. Bloody hell, you were out there doing it on your own. You were all alone. You know, you were a very brave man. I know you're working with people.
No matter how many walls of shit fell down on me, I survived every single one of them.
Yeah. And that is theatre, and that is showbiz, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I always tell people, if you're going to try to pursue a career in this, you have to be in it for the long haul. One of my friends said you have to give it at least 10 years. I mean, it takes time. Right. Yes, some people get here, and yes, they get very lucky. They get an agent, they get a manager. Before they know it, they're the star of the show. Yeah. It all falls into place. But for everybody else, you got to come here and you got to pay the dues and do the work. Get into an acting class or get into an improv class, get your headshots and just start canvassing, start mailing to all the agents and managers and casting directors. I mean, it really is like your own business when you're an actor.
That's one reason I ever did it in the first time when I went to drama school in my early 20s, because I knew I could create my own theatre. But I was a very immature autistic, so I had to give up and grow up. But yeah, not the case with you. You're fine. You know.
Well, after years of trying to do it the traditional Hollywood way, that was why I made my one-man show, was because I figured, okay, Hollywood doesn't know what to do with me. I can't get a job the traditional Hollywood way. So if Hollywood's not going to give me a job, I'm going to make myself a job. Yeah. And that's what I did with my one-man show. I made my own job.
Because there's a hell of a lot more to you than just being an actor, you know.
I wanted to put together a show, a vehicle, basically, that would show all of my talents, that I could sing, that I could act, that I could tell jokes. I could be a comedian. You know, I wanted to have all of it displayed right there for everybody to see what I was capable of doing.
And in all of that, you created an important self-advocacy statement for all autistic people, which is very important, you know, and there's a lot in there. Particularly wonderful statements at the end. You're speaking for people. Actually, you are. I think you are, definitely. You can make that statement, and that will work in any country, certainly in this country, in my country. It's a hell of a thing.
I never want anybody to feel like there's nothing that they can't do because of being on the spectrum. I want to be the voice that says anything you want to do in life, you can do it.
Yeah. It's a hell of a thing. I know I keep eulogizing it. You just got to see it. I like your music video, by the way. Getting down on a big bale of hay. You had to get down, didn't he? Posing away.
Before I did the one-man show, I was trying to do the country music thing. So,
well, you got the boots and the Stetson. Hey, day. 2 words. Brokeback. Mountain. 2 words.
Hey, if I did something like that and if it got me an Oscar nomination, I'm in.
Get you a bit more than that, mate. Definitely win-win for you. That's what I say.
And I would have already had the preparation to do that kind of role.
That's right. It's exhaustive preparation. He really put himself in there. He really went for it. Brilliant. What a professional. Oh, he sacrificed a lot. Brilliant. How's it in the present? How's it going where you are? Is it Los Angeles?
Yeah. Still Los Angeles, still in Hollywood.
Still there in the flat, with the identical bathroom to ours. Very strange.
We actually just had our stay-at-home orders start again today.
Oh, right. Oh.
Well, yeah, in America, we have a little holiday called Thanksgiving. Yeah. Which is truly an ugly holiday when you really look at the history of what Thanksgiving is. Right. Basically, Thanksgiving, the origin of Thanksgiving is basically the Native Americans and the settlers having one meal together before the settlers committed genocide on the Native Americans and kicked them off their land, basically. So,
the turkey.
If you really do break down the history of Thanksgiving, it's a very ugly holiday. But obviously, over the years, it's evolved to just basically having a turkey around your family, friends, or loved ones. And so many people,
vulnerable creature.
and despite the fact that, our numbers here in America are surging, people still wanted to travel for Thanksgiving. So I'm afraid that because of all the traveling that Americans did, numbers are going to keep on surging. So the mayor of Los Angeles basically said effective today, stay-at-home orders are in place.
That means you can't go out on the street.
Yeah, unless we have a mask on. And some cities like West Hollywood have instated a $500 fine if you're walking around without a mask on.
Good.
Unfortunately, our country just did not get on the same page when it came to how to handle this pandemic.
Yeah. It's a very serious thing. We know somebody who died. He was in the 70s, a friend of my wife's. I signed up for the Oxford vaccine trial, and I've either had a meningitis shot in the booster or I've had the COVID in the booster, and I may be about to find out when the vaccines start, like next week or the week after. I might not need it, you see, I don't know, but I'd recommend you get in for the trials. if there's any trials going over there, because I'm getting my 4th vaccination of the year tomorrow. Then I get a flu vaccine, and I've had a pneumonia vaccine, and I've had these 2 other vaccines.
I haven't heard of any trials, but the minute I hear of one, I will sign up.
If you can find them online, I had to look up, because I'm in London, so it's really easy. You go to this place called St Thomas's Hospital, it's only a few miles away on the Thames, so I think all you've got to do is just go online, and you could probably find something. But it's definitely, you go in there, there's all these doctors going in for it, because they realise, A, they're going to help out, and B, they're going to get the vaccine if they're lucky. So it's great. It's nothing wrong with me at all. But apart from doing that, there's nothing we can do, is there?
No, this is out of our control. I mean, if 2020 taught us anything, it's that Mother Nature is gonna run its course, and this virus didn't care about your plans or what you wanted to do for the year of 2020.
Amen. There's a lot of people. Sorry.
And this year really taught me more than anything else to count your blessings. I mean, I'm happy to still be alive. Yeah. I'm happy to still be healthy. I'm happy that everybody in my immediate family, my brothers, my sister, my parents, have not succumbed to this virus. Yeah. And that this year really taught me that, because we have over 200,000 deaths right now in our country. It's brutal over here. So
we have a lot of people around here who seem to think they're immortal. And the whole situation is monodimensional. It's just like a cold, it'll come and go. And it's completely wrong. We have no idea where this is going in a year's time, 5 years' time, 6 months.
We had a president who basically lied to the American people and said it's the flu. It will go away like magic. And, he thought he could bluff his way through a global pandemic. And that turned out to be the case.
I don't know what to say. Happy conversation, isn't it? We kind of talk about what's happening now as opposed to your marvellous show, and this is where we're all going to die. It's a disease. It won't be over.
Sadly, it's what's around us all the time right now. I mean, this has consumed all of our lives basically as a planet.
So, if we can come back to being autistic, have you many autistic friends over now in your life these past few years?
I do. Thanks to doing this show, I've had the opportunity to meet a lot more on the spectrum, such as yourself. Yeah. I finally met Anders when I took the show to New York.
Good,
and
very good. Yeah, Anders Lee.
And and I have a lot of friends here in Los Angeles, fellow actors who I've met that are also on the spectrum. So yeah, I've in the last several years, I've definitely made a lot more friends who are on the spectrum.
Brilliant. There was a site over here that my mate Drew told me about. There was for gay Aspies. So there must be a site, like a Facebook group. It was originally like a Gmail, Google Mail site just for... Yes, I know. If you can't find one, set it up. Prophetic words. Enough said. But yeah, we're everywhere. And I'm really glad that you found, because in the show, you really don't know any autistic people.
No.
Yeah, know any. And yet you create all the concepts in neurodiversity movement from scratch, and you realise, that you hold these truths to be self-apparent, that we should have self-respect and dignity, and that we can achieve anything. So you go and do it to show you can achieve it.
And I just wanted to make sure that my voice was heard, because, even before this pandemic happened, we were already really divided as a country because of our president. You had half the country that loved him and half the country that hated him. And, we unfortunately had a president who openly mocked a disabled reporter.
I've seen that.
My director, I was talking about it with my director one day. We were in the car, and my director was like, you need to put that in the show. I think people need to hear that. And so I decided to.
That will never go away. That is a meme. It can be repeated as a gift. History is going to trample all over the party and that man. I don't think he understands what he was doing. These people get into power and they think the founder Reich will last 1,000 years. Oh, my legacy will endure. And as soon as they're out of office, the new president, soon he just Biden just completely changed everything, and they carry on as if it's like the anti-vaxxers and the COVID-idiots who seem to believe that that they last forever, they'll be there forever, It's not the case.
And nobody's immortal here, so we're all going to eventually go, but you can make the decision to last a little longer.
Yeah, if you get a vaccination.
Yeah, if you make the decision that you want to last a little longer.
So are you able to work through this situation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was working as an actor last year, which was great. Last year, I booked my first feature film, and I booked a guest starring role on a television series called NCIS Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I did the movie with one of your own. The star of our movie was a Brit. His name is William Mosley, and he was Peter in the Chronicles of Narnia movies.
Okay, and you were in that. Has it been released yet?
No, it hasn't. We were hoping that it would come out by this year because we shot it last October, September. And it's a Christmas movie. However, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, a lot of movies that were planned for theatrical releases that are now not getting them. Unfortunately, that independent feature is now kind of the last thing that people are considering for streaming services because there's bigger movies with bigger budgets that need homes now, too, for streaming services.
Right.
Like Netflix and Hulu and Amazon or as they say in the UK, Amazon.
Amazon, that's right. Yeah.
Amazon.
Where I come from, it's Amazon.
In America, we say it Amazon.
Amazon, yeah. It's like those sword and sandal films they used to make in Hollywood. I am a Roman. I am a Gaul. They're all... I am Caesar. Hail Caesar. It was brilliant. Because British people hear American accents. It's just great. Victor Mature,
And what I was doing in between acting jobs was I was driving for Uber and I was driving for Lyft to, pay my rent in between acting gigs. However, now that people aren't going anywhere anymore, I had to figure out what I was going to do about my finances. So I ended up getting a job at the Domino's Pizza down the street from my house delivering pizzas. Yeah. Yeah. So, it was a little embarrassing to have to go back to pizza delivery after guest starring on a TV show. But, you do what you have to do.
Well, the thing about being an actor is that you're reflecting reality. So if you're delivering pizzas, you're getting nothing but, the real world 24/7. And that only enriches your art. And it's also being somebody who can do that, who can go from what you wanted to achieve to what you didn't want to do, and just being an ordinary person. It's a very Buddhist thing, to be able to keep an even keel doing that. A lot of people in your business, you could be like Johnny Depp 1 minute, and then Johnny Depp revealed as a wife beater and out of a job, and ended up one step away from being Kevin, who is no longer mentioned. House of Cards Kevin that we don't talk about, and he's not working at all. He could be delivering pizzas. Yeah, he could be
Hollywood will forgive so much, but there's certain things Hollywood will not forgive. In Mr. Spacey's case, if you're somebody who did inappropriate things with a minor, Hollywood will not forgive that.
Right.
They will not forgive pedophilia. So that happened with Spacey, and that happened with another actor named Stephen Collins.
Yeah.
Who was on a show called Seventh Heaven, and then it was revealed that he had relations with an underage girl, and that ruined his career. Hollywood will not forgive that.
Oh, this is what goes on. It's that simple. It really is, and it should be, because it's in some ways it's a very dense, a very deep, a very serious, sophisticated thing, but in other ways it's incredibly simple. You are performing for an audience. Yeah. One step away from the King's Players, the Mummers, and then they built the Globe and so on. It all started with gypsies, prostitutes, thieves, tinkers, the kind of people. So for me, it was always like being a soldier. When I tried to do it in 1987, I actually did 2 auditions after I left the drama school. But then I realised that I really needed to grow up and get it together. I haven't done an audition for like 33 years now. And I had an opportunity.
I have to put myself on tape for an audition actually this coming week.
Good. Very good.
For a CBS project. So we'll see what that entails. But I have to put every single audition I've had for the year of 2020 has all been self-tape auditions.
Yeah. People don't understand what it is to go for an audition, get your hopes raised, and then you don't get the audition. And this can go on and on and on. And they don't.
It's all about. Yeah. It's all about you just keep going, keep going, and eventually, and it happened for me twice last year. I booked 2 jobs last year. Yes, you're going to get a lot of no's, but if you keep in there and if you keep persistent and if you keep at it, you'll eventually get a yes. And then you'll get another yes. And then you might get another no and another no, but then you'll get another yes. You know, it's all about yes and no. You're going to get a lot of no's, but if you hang in there and if you don't quit and if you don't give up, you'll eventually get a yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're good, by the way. Because you're not wasting your time. Because you've actually got a bit of substance. And I think delivering pizzas is very helpful in that respect as well. Because anything that takes a bit of nerve and backbone to make a man grow as a person it's going to be there on the screen. And that's what it's all about.
I was out there on the front line myself, delivering pizzas to people who needed to eat. So nowhere near as heroic as the people working in the hospitals, but I did my part.
They are Americans. They need pizza.
People still need to eat. So I felt like I was out there on the front line delivering food to people who needed to eat.
Brilliant, like these Red Cross parachuting them down. Pizza. We'll make it. We'll survive. We got water. We got pizza. Yeah.
Well, what we ended up doing was how pizzas got delivered during a global pandemic was you do this thing now called contactless delivery, which is you put the pizza down on their front doorstep, you knock on the door, and then you just walk away.
Right. And the neighbors get it. Sorry.
What I would always do to make sure that nobody would steal their pizzas, I would always knock on the door and then go to the end of the hallway and then wait for them to open up the door to take it inside. Just that way I know that they got it.
Yeah, you're doing the job properly. So you go the extra mile for them, Well, this end, it's all keeping fit and making crazy Action Man films, as you can see. And I've made a few films about being autistic on my YouTube, which are full of really jarring and aggressive images, actually. But that's the closest I've got in my life to saying what it's like to be me and autistic. If I did my equivalent in your show, it would be very intense and not appropriate for some autistic people, I think. But you've really inspired me and really helped me to get closer to my own vision. As Anders Lee did with his brilliant show, which he did in the Elephant and Castle when he visited London. Hell of a thing. You guys, you really do. Americans really... You're right up there. You're very well trained, and you come up with a huge standard of performance, which is very impressive. And the honesty to put your heart out, it goes without saying. It really does. And you're not kidding anyone. A lot of us, of course, have to. A lot of us can't be out in so many different ways because you're keeping jobs, and of course, are you aware of actors who are autistic but in the closet? Do you think?
There's actually more and more attention now coming for actors on the spectrum. There was recently a controversy because Sia did a film recently. I think it's called Music.
Yeah, I've seen it.
She hired an actress who was not on the autism spectrum. Yeah. And actors such as Alex Plank and Kayla Cromer and Mickey Rowe, who was the first actor on the spectrum to play
Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime when it transferred. Yeah.
And what's the character's name again?
Christopher.
He was the first actor on the spectrum to play Christopher, and his name is Mickey. I think it's Mickey Rowe or Mickey Rao.
Right.
But anyways, we know each other on Facebook and Twitter, but we never met in person. But anyways, So now there's a lot more attention actually on us, because for more roles that are coming, Hollywood is getting a lot more conscious about hiring actors on the spectrum. I mean, both of the jobs I had last year were both jobs for actors on the spectrum. They were looking for actors on the spectrum, and I got to play it 2 times. One of my friends was like, well, you don't want to get pigeonholed. And I was like, well, I have to work, and typecasting is part of the industry. So if I'm going to have to get into the industry as the autistic guy, then I'm going to be the best damn autistic guy Hollywood has ever seen. And then from there, hopefully I can do roles that are not autistic, and I can then really show my chops as an actor. But typecasting is what this industry is all about when you're just starting out.
If you look at Criminal Minds TV show, it's been going a long time, there are at least 2 characters like Mr. Grubler, and also the woman who plays the computer expert, the hacker.
I've met her, Kirsten Vagnus. I've met her.
Yes, out and proud, isn't she? She's absolutely fantastic. But the both of them are clearly pseudo-autistic style people. There seems to be something happening out there where it's trendy to have pseudo-autistics present.
Well, it's I've seen this with a lot of television programming here in this country. There's another show called The Middle, which was with Patricia Heaton, and there was a character on the show named Brick, and they never say it, but he clearly has Aspergers, or as they say it in the UK, Aspergers.
Asperger's syndrome. Yeah, oh God.
I hate the way we say it as Americans. It sounds like a burger made out of an ass in America.
I hate the term. I don't believe in it. I always, at the beginning of my show, I refute it. I just say it's a snob term, and it's a lot of crap. You're just on the spectrum. You're just autistic, and everything else is how you try to pretend you're not, and masking and coping, and all these definitions. There's all these different schools of thought about it, the Diagnostic Service Manual, and there's that's not autism, that's neurodivergence, that's Aspergers, that's neurodiverse, that's PDD, NO. No, you're just bloody autistic, and everything else is your own social skills, and it's all a lot of crap. And I really try to deconstruct all that. I actually react against the very academia and formal diagnosis terminology that I'm supposed to embrace. I think it's quite frankly. Poo-poo.
It's just a wide spectrum, and we all fall in different places. That's just how I see it. It's a wide spectrum, and there's high functioning, and then there's low functioning. I mean, it's a wide spectrum.
It's interesting. How can a disorder give you abilities? I always say that to everyone I talk to. How can a disorder give you empathy for others of your kind when you can form long-term, loving, stable relationships and be rather happy? I don't get it. In ways of relating, you and I have a way of relating unique to our kind. Obsessional behaviour. It's just great. I love it. I'm getting on a bit now. I can't even remember half of my obsessional stuff. My Doctor Who knowledge is declining. It's just embarrassing, But I've got all these synthesizers in the corner of the room. Quick, turns the computer. That sheet, that's all my synthesizers. I love my synthesizers. Can't even play the bloody things, but I've got them.
What's funny is there's an actress from Doctor Who I remember because she used to be a pop star, and her name is Billie Piper.
Oh, yeah. Oh, incredible. I saw her in a...
Billie Piper. Yeah. Billie Piper used to be a pop star back in the 90s. And what's funny is they brought her over to America. Yeah. I'm one of the few Americans who remembers Billie Piper as a pop star because they did bring her over to the States in 1999. However, here's the problem. Yeah. The reason why Billie couldn't happen as a pop star in America was because it was 1999 and Britney Spears had already come out and everybody was so obsessed with Britney. So there was no room for Billie Piper. Really? And whatever Britney Spears didn't get, all the attention was on Christina Aguilera. Then it was on Jessica Simpson. Then it was on Mandy Moore. We had 4 other pop stars who came out that year. So there wasn't any room for Billie in the marketplace.
These people. I'm an old punk rocker. You are a punk rocker. Clash, Stranglers, Damned, Sex Pistols, Siouxsie, The Slits.
I love the Clash, love the Sex Pistols, love the Ramones.
Oh, yeah, the Ramones. I have such serious mental health issues I never got into the Ramones. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Johnny and Joey. I don't know what's wrong with me. I've sought help. I really do need to see somebody. No, I missed them. They came to Liverpool in the early 80s. I didn't see them. I don't like the Ramones. The KKK took my baby away. I even know the songs. I don't know what's wrong with me. Saw Patti Smith in the flesh in 2006.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she played the South Bank. She was really good. A retrospective on William Burroughs. That was good. And she had Ian Sinclair and the guy who wrote The Dark Knight Rises, a graphic novelist on the stage as well. So yeah, I've seen Patti Smith. Yeah.
And like most gay children in the 90s, one of our favorite groups came from your country.
Right.
The little pop sensation from the 90s dominated our country. Like most gay children, I was a fan too.
Who was not the Spice Girls?
Oh, of course.
Oh, for God's sake. Oh.
It's a child of the 90s. That they were big and everybody loved them who was in my age group. We were all kids.
Seriously. Posh, sporty.
I hope they all do a reunion tour, and I will fly to the UK to see them if it's safe.
Yeah, one of them was from Liverpool in their favour, and I did once knock on the door of Scary Spice because I was knocking on
Brown
International, and it was West Hampstead, and the fella said, "Go on, she's upstairs. Go on." No, I don't want to do. Oh no! And I tried the intercom, and just a woman answered, and no going.
I'll never forget when I watched the royal wedding when Harry married Meghan. And I watched the royal wedding. I got up to I was curious. I watched the royal wedding. It was being broadcast, so I watched it.
Yeah.
All the news outlets in my country were covering it.
Yeah.
And I decided to tune in because I figured, you know what, this is a very historical moment because this is the first half black princess your country has had.
And you, Mrs. Simpson.
And when they were singing in the ceremony, they go to David and Victoria's not singing, and I'm like, "Hi, Victoria, you were part of a singing group. That's the reason why you got famous. Why aren't you singing?"
Because she married a footballer and she doesn't smile. Oh, she got a great smile when she does smile, though. I think she got the best review in the film. Of course, I haven't seen the film. I've never seen. I'll never make a gay man. I've never seen Mamma Mia. And the show, we never got free tickets for it in the West End when it was on there. But if I had, I would have stood firm. I've never seen any of the films. Oh, for goodness sake.
You want to hear something? And I might anger a lot of musical theater people who loved the movie. I thought the sequel was actually better than the first movie.
Well, that's probably because the cast got better at it, if you see what I mean. They had more time. The Rocky Horror Picture Show, they spent years doing that before they filmed it.
The story in the sequel, I felt, had a lot more substance than the story in the first movie.
Yeah, because the first one was so successful, they put far more in. Yeah, right. Yeah, but I've still never seen it, and I never bloody well. It's no good you trying to sell it like that. Oh, George.
I mean, they're fun movies, you know.
When you're on set and you're working as an autistic person, is there anything particularly you find differentiates you from everybody else?
Well, I'm just basing this off of two experiences, but whenever I get to set, I just try really hard to focus as much as I can. I focus on the lines. I focus on my intention, what my character is trying to do, what my character is trying to say in each moment. So I just really, really focus. When William Moseley was promoting the film on his Instagram page, he was giving shout outs to all the cast members. And when it got to me, he said, at George F. Steeves for his never wavering energy. Yeah. Because I gave it my all in that movie. I mean, that was my first movie, and I just really wanted to knock it out of the park. So I was giving it my all.
Did Did you feel...
I had never wavering energy.
Did you feel it sustained you rather than exhausting you? It gave you more energy to do that. It was a sensation of joy.
I was living my dream. I was living what I wanted to do ever since I was a kid. It was one of the happiest experiences of my life. I mean, I was finally on the first day when I was shooting the first scene, I just was thinking, oh my God, I'm really here and I'm really doing this.
That's what I want to hear. That's it. Because we have to be careful about our energy and about overstretching ourselves and about over-focusing and being overwhelmed as well and think we're doing well and we kind of collapse. And there's always stories about actors going for it so much, really going for it and paying for it in different ways. And I'm really glad that was the case, that you are definitely, because I know the feeling, kind of just people who are made to do this kind of thing. You know, you get a lot of it.
What I always liked to do when I was making the first movie, it was called Penciltown when we shot it, but now it's called Saving Paradise.
Okay.
And what I always like to do is at the end of every shooting day, I would always go to the trailer and have the makeup artist remove all my makeup.
Yeah.
Because that was like my way personally of putting the character down and just going home as myself.
Yeah. That's really interesting, that actually, because I did immersive transformational character acting, and there's this thing about switching it off. Nobody knows about this. Yeah, you can actually, okay, it's over, rest.
Yes.
And the next day, back into character, rock and roll. Okay, now going back to reality. Yeah. Yeah, it's very, very interesting though, yeah.
So I was the only actor, I think, who would request it. I didn't see any of the other actors getting their makeup removed, but I would go to the hair and makeup trailer at the end and said, hey, is it cool if you guys, wipe me off, because that was like my own ritual and that was like my own way of putting the character down, and
psychologically as well. Yeah, because that stuff can get in your head and go, even if it's a nice character. Because I've done all this stuff and things can go round and round, I woke up one morning, spent the entire day pretending to be Quentin Crisp, but the other actors in my house weren't so lucky. The fellow next to me was a very old music hall comedian. He was all right. And there was a guy at the top and he played Dennis Nielsen. So Quentin Crisp woke up in a house in Leytonstone, opened his door, and there at the top of the stairs with his glasses on was my friend Simon, pretending to be this gay serial killer. And you can imagine it was... It was a bit worrying character. There were 3 David Byrnes in the drama school. The Ayatollah Khomeini turned up, who was played by Damon Albarn. Billy Connolly, all these characters. A very good friend of mine who's still my mate, who I see in Edinburgh. I don't think you met him, but he is on Facebook. David was Rudolf Nureyev, and Rudolf and Quentin had a right time, had a right laugh. You can't take this business too seriously.
Right. There's a lot of it's like bells and whistles of the industry, and you as an actor, I try really hard to not get caught up in that. Yeah. Because unfortunately this industry, it starts to make you feel like you're a product and not a person. You always have to remember that you are a person at the end of the day. Because then it becomes all about box office, and it becomes all about awards, and it becomes all about how well did your last movie do, or how are your numbers. It becomes, you tend to become more of a product, and you have to still remind yourself in the midst of all this that no, I am not a product, I am a person.
George, I don't know what to say. It's a thing. I wish I could just hang out with you and show you London. I really do.
I definitely plan to visit.
Should we leave it there then, George?
I was so happy to come on and do this today.
I just feel like I met you before huge things happened, that we met before things got enormous for you, because the future is going to be very, very good for you.
And I definitely have another one-man show that I'm working on that I'm very excited about.
Yeah, and what's it called?
Well, there might be a new name, actually. Oh. Originally, I was going to call it Confessions of a Queer Aspie. But, however, lately, because the show is going to talk about dating and sex and what that's like from an autistic perspective.
Right.
The two titles I'm playing around with I was thinking of calling it Eat My Aspergers.
Yes, George.
Or I was thinking of calling it Kiss My Aspergers.
Well, I see where you're coming from.
It's definitely going to be a lot more provocative than my last show.
You can have the main title and then you can have bracket, or bracket. Because Julian Clary played the Old Theatre and he called the show Camping at the Old Witch. And he told people on stage the original working title was The Man from Uranus. Make of that what you will. But yeah. Well, it's a very, very good attitude. Brilliant. Well,
it's definitely going to be a lot more provocative, and it's going to be a lot more daring than my last show. So, and I really want to do Edinburgh at least one more time.
Good.
So.
Good.
And I want to do it. I want to do it your way. I want to do it the free fringe way.
No
I did the the other way. I want to do it the free fringe way now.
Yeah. It's a funny old thing about that. So you get in with a ticketed venue. There's money involved and stuff. Yeah, you're much better off taking complete control. Put your deposit down. Get some flyering people to work for you. And you surprisingly get the same results. What's that about? Or you get better results, actually, on the relative scale. But, yeah, in your case, it's definitely showcase. And just doing a run as well, and just meeting people, I think would be very important as well. This is brilliant.
I mean, I always loved coming down after my show was done to hang out with you and Alan and Sarah.
Yeah, they're alive and well. It was great to see you, George. I was very good. We went to a party and everything, didn't we?
Yes. I mean, because we still had to shoot that stuff for the documentary, which is still coming out.
Yeah.
There's a couple more things that we have to tweak and fix on it, but the documentary is coming out soon.
George, we'll do this again sometime. I'm going to sign off now.
Absolutely.
Bless you, brother. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye-bye. Bye.